past and say, hey, when we do it this way, we've had success. That's what the past is for in that example. Like, hey, when we've done it and done it right, this is what it's looked like. So let's do it again. And nothing can be taken for granted. And so every day, the detail, the communication, all those things got to be valued at a high level so that we can be a defense that can hang our hat on not giving up explosive plays.
And so many talented defensive players back on this year's team, like we mentioned. We'll talk more about that coming up on the other side of the break. Getting you ready here for kickoff between the Gophers and the Aggies. Stick around. More to come here on the Gopher Pregame Show.
You're watching the Gopher Pregame Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Gopher Pregame Show. Pierre Nugent alongside Justin Guard and Ron Johnson, the former Gopher wide receiver, with us on set here. We'll talk to the guys here in just a little bit, but first, we want to get back out to the tailgate section and hit up Amy Hockert, who has been out and about. People are trying to give her food. They're trying to give her drinks. Amy, if somebody gives you food, take the food, and please bring it back here. We're all starving.
Absolutely, you guys. What a party out here. We're having so much fun. We want to stop and talk to these two former players. Tell me your name and when you played.
Bruce Edison, they played in 1966 when we wore leather helmets.
As you.
1967, 68, and 69.
And what's your name?
Jim Pahula.
All right, you guys. What do we got going this season? What are your predictions?
Oh, I think it's going to be very, very fun games to watch, and I think it's going to be a great season. And how many games we play this year? 9?
Oh, I don't know.
9 or
How
10?
many?
About 12.
Or about 12? I think we'll go 10 and 2.
I love it.
Well, let's see. I think we're going to go 10-2 also. I think the offensive line is going to be a little question mark, and I think Tanner Morgan, if he can come back under Coach Ciarrocca, will do very well.
Great analysis and insight. I love it, you guys. Thanks for talking to us. Thanks for being here. We want to take you over. We've made so many friends here. One more. I need you to tell me your story. Hi. You've had tickets in your family for a very long time.
Yes, I have. My name's Ted. My father was a student here in 1939, 40, and 41. He was then drafted into World War II. Never did come back get his degree, but our season tickets started in 1939. I have 3 older sisters, so as we were growing up, they got to attend games before I did. 4th grade, 10 years old was the time frame, so 1972 was the first year I got to start going to games at the old stadium. And here
Amazing.
I am, 50 years later, take away COVID, which didn't count, and this is officially my 50th year as a season ticket holder of
I
Gopher
love it.
football.
Thank you for being such a great fan. Appreciate it. And we're out of time, but we got to get this one shot in here. One of the littlest Gopher fans here tonight. What's your name?
Hi, my name's Mike.
And you
This
are?
is little Bryn right here.
Hey, I love it. The new generation of Gopher fans. Young and old, we're having a great time out here. You guys, we'll check in with you in just a little bit.
Absolutely. Thank you, Amy, so much. Yeah, and in talking to some of the former players, you heard it just a moment ago. A perfect segue. He must have known we were going to talk about this Gophers offensive line because earlier in the show we're talking about the continuity this team is bringing back. But if there's one position group that has had turnover, it's that offensive line.
And as I kind of said off the top, I'm okay with it because they actually have guys that have played football in the Big Ten. You go back to the pandemic year of 2020, they played 10 offensive linemen. About half of them are still on this team. So that's what I like about it. That's what Iowa does. That's what Wisconsin does. You build up your offensive linemen. You make them play when they're 21 and 22, as opposed to what we had to do year one, play a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds up there.
Yeah, was it year 1 or year 0?
Year 0.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what year this is. But, yeah, I mean, I agree. I think when you think about the guys that have played, and I think that's the key, these aren't a bunch of, like, rookies, freshmen. These are guys that have played at other schools, played football here. And so I think at the end of the day, honestly, Kirk Ciarrocca did a great job of getting Tanner Morgan. It wasn't an RPO because he doesn't run the ball. But he did a great job of giving him options in the passing game that we did not see under Sanford Jr. And so I think that's going to help the offensive line as well because if it's not a favorable defensive front, Tanner's going to check out of it, and we're going to see Chris Autman-Bell do some things that Tyler Johnson and Rashad Bateman. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see that offense back because it was great 2 years ago.
Yes. One answer and one receiver tout for the wide receiver, for the going into the Hall of Fame wide receiver.
If you're keeping track at home, there's one for Ron Johnson. More to come here on the other side of the break. The Gopher pregame show continues. When we come back, Ron, Justin, and I will give you our players to watch for the upcoming season. You won't want to miss that next.
Welcome back to the Gopher Pregame Show.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Gopher Pregame Show. Counting you down till we get to kickoff between the Aggies and the Gophers as we open up the college football season. Back here with Justin Guard and Ron Johnson. And, guys, let's get to our players we need to watch this season. Ron, I'm going to start with you. Your player to watch for 2022.
Well, it's number 7. I mean, when you think about Chris Autman-Bell and what this offense needs to be, you need a Tyler Johnson, Rashad Bateman type. Chris Autman-Bell last year, 6 touchdowns, led him with 500 yards receiving. This is going to be his year. He has Kirk Ciarrocca back, and I think with this RPO style, in the slot, you'll see him in the slot running slant and goes. You'll see him running sluggo seams. You will see him be utilized in this offense alongside Dalen Wright. I think Kirk Ciarrocca is going to put a great playbook together, and you have a 35-year-old quarterback, so he's going to make sure to distribute the ball to the guy he knows. Because at the end of the day, if I have to throw it down, I'm chucking it to the guy I know has strong, violent hands.
And Kirk Ciarrocca, by the way, said the last 10 days of fall camp, Chris Autman-Bell went to a different level. Wants him to be a dude is what he calls him. Wants to be one of those guys. He said the last 10 days. He's done that.
Your player to watch for the upcoming season.
I'm going to go defense. I'll probably have to do that all season because of my guy over here. He'll be taking offense. So I go with Thomas Rush because everybody wants to talk about Boye Mafe a year ago with good reason. The guy led the team with 7 sacks, second-round pick for Seattle. We've already seen him playing in preseason, how electric he has been. But don't count out Thomas Rush, who split time with Boye Mafe last year and turned in 5.5 sacks of his own. So I want to see him in a bigger role, in a more established role, and it's kind of one of those leaders now that guys like Boye are gone.
If I had the hat right now, I would put it on and call myself Captain Obvious. But, at the same time, I don't see why you wouldn't want to keep your eyes on Tanner Morgan. We discussed this a little bit earlier in the show. The past couple of years, even if when you listen to Tanner talk about his state of play, it sounds like it hasn't been up to his standards over the last couple of years. We've mentioned Kirk Ciarrocca back with this team. Can he rework that magic that what we saw in 2019? 30 touchdown passes in 2019, leading the Gophers to that Outback Bowl victory in what was a magical season in 2019. And let's be honest, guys, we know that this team likes to run the ball. They've got great running backs. They have the ability to run the ball. But Tanner Morgan's play is really what is going to be separating this team from an 8-win team to possibly a 10-win, maybe an 11-win team if they get great quarterback play. Not good quarterback play, great quarterback play.
Yeah, he's got to protect the ball. I mean, honestly, it's going to be a box count. We know Kirk Ciarrocca does the check with me, but he does it better. I mean, nothing against Mike Sanford Jr. He was thrown behind the 8 ball, not being able to talk to players during COVID. Then the next year trying to build on something that he had never built in the first place. Right. It just wasn't. It didn't work. And so we know Kirk Ciarrocca's check with me is a little bit better. He gives Tanner a little bit more time to figure out what he needs to do, and we saw it work. Now again, we'll figure it out. Yeah. Was it the chicken or the egg? Tom Brady, Belichick. Was it Rashad Bateman and Tyler Johnson, or was it Tanner? We will find that out in the next 3 games. But tonight, I loved these games. Illinois State, we used to play all those teams, Peanut Tillman and Ike Taylor. Oh yeah, I love these games because this was a 2-touchdown, 144-yard type of game. This one, Chris Autman-Bell's got to step up and say, hey, this is my team.
It's that kind of selfless attitude that gets you in the M Club Hall of Fame, as Ron Johnson will get into here. But you mentioned Tanner Morgan. It's the passing game is what it is. It's Tanner Morgan. It's the offensive line, but it's also the wide receivers. Even Chris Autman-Bell a year ago wasn't always available. No fault of his own. Right. Had some injuries. But how are they mixing in Dalen Wright? We could have brought up Brevin Spanford as a guy to watch in the tight end position. Daniel Jackson's going to be out tonight. He'll be a factor. Michael Brown-Stevens, John Legend's nephew. Will he be a factor? The passing game is what's going to take him from 8 to 10 wins. You're 100% right.
No disrespect to any of my uncles out there. You're all cool in your own right, but you're not John Legend. I mean, that would be pretty cool.
No John Legend. No Grammys. Chrissy Teigen.
No Grammys to.
I'm just saying, Gophers and Aggies kick it off at 8 o'clock. Switch over to the stream. We'll have more.
right. Tell me who has a favorite player. Yes, you. Go ahead.
Tanner Morgan.
Yes. We need him to stay healthy. Yes? All right, very good. Well, we've got cars coming in behind us. Hi. Hi, everybody. Live on TV here, so we got to watch where we're going. But we're going to keep walking down here for a second if you guys want to hang with us. Hey, you guys playing cards?
Yeah.
Nice.
Cribbage.
Cribbage?
Yep.
Oh, tell me about what we got going on over there.
We got salmon and halibut
You guys,
from Alaska.
You're the fancy Gopher players. Look at you, right?
Yeah.
Fish tacos.
Fish tacos later? You're going to be cooking them up here?
Yes,
All
we
right.
are.
We might be back for that. That sounds
You're
amazing.
welcome.
Well, thank you. See what I mean? Do you see what I mean? Everybody. Oh, you want me to come over there? Yeah, let's go over there. We're being summoned. Let's go. Yeah, we're going to get him on TV. Yes, let's go, buddy. Is she with you too? Come on, sweetie. Come on. Let's go.
1977 ticket holder right here.
Yes.
Season ticket holder.
What's your name? Sue. 1977. Tell me about, okay, well, ish, right? Tell me about being a Gopher fan. What does it mean to you?
Lifelong fan.
You want to try? You want to hold it?
I'm Emma. I spend the Gopher game. My name is Mark.
Look over here. You look over here.
Say, what's your name? Mark. If you love Gopher football?
I love it so much.
Yeah, I love it. What are you eating, buddy?
Cheetos.
Cheetos.
Jack, you want to tell us about Gopher football?
My name is Zach, and I really love Gopher football.
Yay! All right, one more time.
Emma,
Turn
turn
this way
this
so we
way.
can see you.
Let's get those Cheetos off your face. Emma, look at the camera.
Can you say Skyuma?
Skyuma.
Yeah,
Good
it's all right.
job.
You're doing great.
Oh my
all right,
gosh.
I'm gonna take.
Oh.
Well, Mom's turn.
Skyuma.
Thank you guys. This is so fun. Yeah. Oh, we got. Oh, I'm being called over here. We got to move over. Yes. Do you see how many friends we've made today? It's like the easiest place to make friends. All right, who do we have? Who do we have? Name.
Jason Lamers.
Jason. All right, tell me about. So you're a former player? Okay, tell me when you played, your position.
2002 to 2005, I was a fullback.
Nice.
Had a lot of fun.
How many games do you come out to?
We've got season tickets, so we come out to every game. We can bring our daughters. I got my daughter Eleanor, my older daughter Rory,
Nice. Oh,
my wife
beautiful.
Christy.
Nice to meet you. So, what did it mean to you when you were lovely? When you were in the in the stadium playing and the fans were roaring? What did that mean to you to be out there?
I mean, you can't beat it. This crowd, everybody who comes out to these games, it makes it so awesome as a player. You get amped up, you get excited, you want to win. Birthday. Happy birthday. We got to sing, you guys. We got to sing. Let's go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jason. Happy birthday to you. Yeah. Can I get a Skyuma? Skyuma. Woo. All right, you guys. Funnest assignment ever. I don't think I'm ever going to go back to news. This is amazing. We're going to send it back to you now, but check back in with us. We have some amazing surprises ahead. I'm telling you, when I say surprise, I mean surprise. You don't want to miss it, all right? See you in a bit.
Amy is absolutely right. You do not want to miss it. And, yeah, we're going to be calling her sports reporter, Amy Hockert, here soon enough after a day like today. But, guys, let's talk about the game at hand. We do have a football game we need to talk about and a team we need to talk about. Back again for another season here of Gopher football. One thing I think in terms of an advantage that this program has is its ability to have that kind of continuity with players returning for another year. Mo Ibrahim is back for another year. Tanner Morgan is back for another year. How much of an advantage is that for a program to have that kind of continuity?
It's huge. When you think about the quarterback to receiver and Chris Autman-Bell, Mo Ibrahim at running back, John Michael Schmitz at center, it does help because the center, specifically center quarterback, there's a lot of conversations that go on during the game. And when they kind of already know, like if Tanner makes a call, John Michael Schmitz probably already knows exactly what Tanner's trying to get to versus where you get a young quarterback or a young center and you see the guy kind of turn around and look like, wait, what? Is that a real play? You know, so I think that's going to be huge from a veteran standpoint. And then a guy like Tanner, this is not the game, but when games get tight,
Yeah.
he's able to get the guys to calm down and say, hey, we got this. I know what's coming up next. We've been here before. I don't think – I mean, Bowling Green, I mean, can't take anybody for granted.
Sure.
But I don't think New Mexico State is that team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, like I said, that kind of continuity, you don't really see it across not just the Big Ten, across the entire landscape of college football, Jeff.
Correct. I mean, you look at, especially for the Gophers, you look at it defensively as well. You've got talent and experience at every level of the defense. You've got Trill Carter and Thomas Rush on the line being the anchors of the line this year. You've got Mariano Sori-Marin, and Braylon Oliver is going to get his turn to get some run this year in linebackers. And you've got arguably the best secondary in the Big Ten between Jordan Howden and Tyler Newman leading at safety. So when you have that kind of talent and that kind of experience, that goes a long way to getting this thing started off on the right foot.
Now, when you look across the field, I know this has been the conversation that we have had pretty much over the last year or two. It is rare that we see a non-conference game kind of circled on the calendar, but that's kind of the situation right now as New Mexico State comes to town. Why is it circled on the calendar? Oh, yeah, that's right. Jerry Kill is coaching across the way on the other side of the field, and after what we've heard from Jerry Kill over the last couple of years, you know, Ron, you've been around this program a long, long time. Jerry Kill did a lot of great things here, but do you have an explanation for the vitriol that has just come from him over these last couple of years, particularly toward the head coach of the Minnesota Gophers?
Yeah, to put my psychiatrist hat on, like as a man, men don't often understand what's wrong. You know, like men have one level, and it's anger.
Yeah.
So if you're hungry, you might be angry. If you're tired, you might be angry. If you're upset, you might be angry. If somebody offended you, you're probably angry. And it takes a while for somebody to really just sit you down and say, hey, what's really wrong? You're going off for no reason right now. And then as a man, you can kind of say, I think this is misguided anger.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jerry Kill took the word culture because he was 1 year removed,
Yeah.
assumed it was his culture. Let's be real. There was a rape case that happened here. There were some guys doing some hardcore drugs here. So there were some things that had to change. They had nothing to do with Jerry Kill. It was just in the gap of Kill to Clays. There was like a Wild Wild West type atmosphere. And PJ just said, you know what, the things I'm seeing on the media, the things I'm hearing, I don't know what's going on, but I need to implement my culture. That's what I'll say. If Mike Tomlin was the head coach of the Gophers and he left here to go be the head coach of the Steelers, great culture, PJ would still come in and say, I have to change the culture. So
Sure.
it's never a bad thing when a coach says it is what it is.
Sure.
Like the Patriot way, Steeler Nation, you know, even with Steelers, Mike Tomlin said, look, I'm not going to do what Bill Cowher did. The owners, yes, we have a great organization, but I'm not going to do it the same way that he did it. So every coach comes in and says that. I think it's just misguided anger, and Jerry's just lashing out. But when you hear him on TV and interviews, he said, what people don't know is this was the best job of my life. I love Minnesota. It hurt me so bad when I had to leave due to health. All that just tells me that he's never really dealt with the fact that he left here on his own and nobody forced him to leave.
To his credit, though, P.J. Fleck is taking the high road. You know, he's been asked about this for 2 years straight now, and every time he's taken the high road. But I have to imagine if he gets an opportunity to run up the score here tonight, he's going to do it, and I wouldn't blame him one bit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if the one thing that he's done, like you said, he's taken the high road. He said in his fall camp news conference, he goes, in 10 years of being a head coach, I've never not shaken a coach's head coach's hand. Sorry. The thing with Jerry Kill for me is, if I'm him, I'm more upset about the fact that I have to travel to Minnesota on 4 days
Yeah.
after losing my opener on a Saturday night, 23-12. You inherited a team that won 2 games. I think he's got 6 guys that are back from last year. There's a reason why the spread on this game is 36.5 points. It started at 38.5 a few months ago. It's since come down just a touch. I mean, PJ is going to act with all class tonight. We all know that, but he's also not going to be afraid to score and say, you know what, stop me. And if it ends up being 52-10 or 48-0, so be it. But it's just a very interesting way for the season to start.
Jeff alluded to it just a moment ago. P.J. Fleck asked about what it's going to be like on the field when him and Jerry Kill come together. Listen to this.
Listen, I've been a head coach 10 years. I've never not shaken the hand of a head football coach. I think there's a tradition of, it goes 100 years ago, of coaches meeting at midfield. That has nothing to do with it. But I've been head coach 10 years, guys, and haven't not shaken one head coach's hand in my entire career.
Well, there you have it from PJ Fleck, and I would imagine that cooler heads will eventually prevail at the end of the game. Maybe a very brief handshake, but I would imagine both of these coaches want to keep up the tradition of what we see at the end of games. Moving on, another coach we got to talk about. We talked about this a little bit last week on the PJ Fleck Show. Kirk Ciarrocca is back with the Minnesota Gophers, and this team had a lot of success with him at the helm as their offensive coordinator. You remember the 2019 season, a real magical season for the Minnesota Gophers. Kirk Ciarrocca had a lot to do with that, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Tanner Morgan had his best season as a Gopher.
Yeah, and again, I'm not going to act like it wasn't Rashad Bateman and Tyler Johnson.
I mean, that too, yes.
That was huge.
No doubt.
Coming from a
Chris,
receiver.
Chris Autman. I mean, Chris Autman-Bell. That threesome was the best three receivers in
No
my
doubt.
opinion in the
No
country that year. I mean, you also had Henry Ruggs with Jerry Jeudy, and so, but I didn't think their third receiver was as complimentary as Chris Autman-Bell was to those two. All went to the NFL. All are, other than Jerry Jeudy, all are still in the NFL. Or not Jerry Jeudy, but Henry Ruggs, all are still in the NFL. So that was like a great year of receivers when you think about that trio. And then Georgia had three receivers as well, which we see George Pickens is really good as well. This is what I'll say about Kirk Ciarrocca. He understands the player. Like, he understands what to get out of the player. I felt like Mike Sanford Jr. was just saying, this is my offense, I'm going to run it. He didn't do a great job. Like, check with me as a great offense. I hated it as a like opposing guy, but it is a great offense. Northwestern started it way back in the early 90s, 2000s. And what that is with 15 to 20 seconds, look at me, I'm going to give you a play, and then go run it. The Gophers have done that in the past. The problem is Mike Sanford was doing it with 12 to 10 seconds. And then when Tanner's coming back to turn, it's 8 seconds, and he's hurry, and you end up in a bad play because you don't have time. So I think with Kirk Ciarrocca, he just has a better handle on this offense. He has a better relationship with these guys. And, I mean, it is what it is. PJ got to get his guy back. You know, I think, like PJ said, he went on to Penn State. He learned a lot as well, like maybe how to utilize a tight end because Spanford is probably, in my opinion, he's an NFL-caliber body. He hasn't really gotten a chance to do it, but it should be fun to see what he unleashes tonight on this team.
Kirk Ciarrocca is going to be reuniting with Tanner Morgan, his quarterback. And like I said, Tanner Morgan had 30 touchdown passes in 2019. That's a pretty good number. Kirk Ciarrocca was asked about what it's going to be like being back with number 2 on the field. This is what he had to say.
When I was with him before, you know, I'm always really guarded with the quarterbacks, especially when they're young. There's just they get way too much credit when things go good and way too much blame when things go bad. And so I think for young men at that position, that always makes me a little nervous when they're young, you know, how they're going to handle the bad, because there's always going to be some adversity, always, you know, with it. But now that he's older, I'm not as worried about trying to protect him that I was when I was here before.
And again, let's hope that Tanner Morgan can regain the form that we saw in 2019 when Kirk Ciarrocca was the offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach. He has the same title again now that he's back here at the University of Minnesota. Over on the other side of the football, guys, let's talk about a defense that had themselves a pretty good year in 2021. Joe Rossi and his group are hoping to duplicate what we saw in 2021. They're getting a lot of guys back, particularly in the secondary. You lose a guy like Boye Mafe, but hey, that's life in college football. Jeff, this defense really, really played well last year. Second in total defense in the Big Ten. Do they have what it takes to repeat here in 2022?
Well, I think they absolutely do. They have, like I said before, they have a mesh of talent and experience at every level of the unit. We talked about starting the secondary with Tyler Nugent and Jordan Howden. That's arguably the best safety duo in the league, in my opinion. Terrell Smith has had an outstanding fall camp. I mean, he's been the top fall camp just like he was last year.
Sure.
So we'll see if he can take that onto the field consistently this year. And you've got Justin Wally coming off of one of the best seasons the freshman have had.
Yeah, no doubt. Justin Wally. I mean, this is a guy that I think we all have to keep our eye on this season.
Yeah, he made a lot of plays. Like, when you think about Justin Wally and the plays he made, I think that, for me, to see a guy that young make that many plays, be in so many big-time situations, PJ brought that up. He said he's not playing like a young player. He's playing with confidence. And my dad played defensive back, and that's the one thing he said. You have to have a swagger about you to play defensive back. You have to really want to hit somebody in the mouth. That's why I stopped playing defensive back, because I did not want to do it anymore. I did it in high school, and I'm like, you know what?
I don't blame you.
I'm not trying to do it. I mean, there is a true story. I played DB for one game for like 2 plays against Michigan State, and they ended up running the ball. And that at that moment when I missed the quarterback, I was like, you know what? I'm not a safety. Like, I'm done. Coach Mason, thanks for the opportunity. I am going to stick to receiver. That's what I'm going to do. But that was the year, like, David Terrell did it, too. He did it at Michigan, played corner a couple plays. Plaxico Burress came in and played corner a couple plays. I don't know why we all thought we should do it, but we thought we were Charles Woodson, and we weren't. But, yeah, no. When you look at Tyler Nubin, you look at, he brought up Thomas Rush.
Yeah.
The key with this defense with Rossi, what I love, and he did this with Carter Coughlin, it became not just a 4-3, but a hybrid 4-3, meaning if I have a guy that can stand up, he's not a true defense end, I'm going to put him in the best position possible, and that's what he's doing.
No doubt about it. And let's go to Joe Rossi now. Actually, he was asked about what it's like coaching this team as opposed to last year's team. He says, hey, yeah, last year this defense had a tremendous amount of success, but you know what? That's in the past, and this year's group needs to form its own identity.
The 2020 defense gave up a lot of explosive plays. The 2019 didn't. So what is this defense going to be? So, you can draw from the past and say, hey, when we do it this way, we've had success. That's what the past is for in that example. Like, hey, when we've done it and done it right, this is what it's looked like. So let's do it again. And nothing can be taken for granted. And so every day, the detail, the communication, all those things got to be valued at a high level so that we can be a defense that can hang our hat on not giving up explosive plays.
Yeah, explosive plays is certainly something they want to avoid in 2022. We're going to talk more about the Gophers and more about tonight's contest between the Gophers and the Aggies on the other side of the break. When we return, we'll take a closer look at this Gophers offensive line. A lot of new faces in this offensive line. We'll discuss that on the other side of the break.
You're watching the Gopher Pregame Show.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Gopher Pregame Show. I'm Pierre Nugent alongside former Gopher wide receiver Ron Johnson, Fox9.com's Jeff Wald, getting you ready here for the Gophers and the Aggies coming up at 8 o'clock here at Huntington Bank Stadium. Guys, let's look across the field now to tonight's opponent, New Mexico State. Already played a game so far this season, 0-1 on the young season. They did lose at home to Nevada, 23-12, but there's a little bit of you look at that score, it's misleading just a little bit because New Mexico State turned the ball over 5 times in that game, committed 8 penalties, yet they were still only down by 1 score going into the fourth quarter. So if they don't shoot themselves in the foot like that, who knows what could have happened last week against Nevada.
Yeah, and they could have probably won that game. I mean, it's still, like, Nevada's not a great team. They lost Carson Strong.
Yep.
They lost Romeo Dubs to the Packers. They also lost their tight end as well. So they lost 3 NFL-caliber guys that made that team on Nevada last year really good. The last couple years. I mean, Carson Strong was one of the most accurate quarterbacks in college football history for a while. I think he threw like 290 passes without interception. But when you think about New Mexico State, this is the thing I look at. Their running back is big. He's played college football before. Their DB, their leading tackler right now, played college football before. I mean, this is a transfer portal laden team.
Sure.
So they do have guys that have played at some big-time schools that just didn't work out there. And, of course, this is what the portal's for guys that if you're not playing at Minnesota, if you're not playing at Illinois, if you're not playing at Missouri, hey, New Mexico State, Nevada, these schools will take you, and you'll get a chance to come in and play right away. So that's what you're going to get. You're getting vets, but you bought it up. They were 2-10 last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's still pretty much. I mean, yes, it's a different group, but that cloud still reigns over. So that's what I look at with New Mexico State. They have to find a way not to turn the ball over, but they're going to have to find a way to stop the run. This defensive line is not big. This offensive line is nasty for the Gophers. If they can't stop the run, it's going to be a long night and a quick game because there's not going to be a clock running unless it's a first down. So.
And that being said, I know you alluded to it a little bit earlier in the show. I know, Jeff, you and I have talked about it off the show. After that Bowling Green game, there is no way in the world that anybody, whether you're a Gopher fan, I don't care who you're rooting for, you can take a game for granted because after what we saw against Bowling Green, not that long ago, listen, I know that New Mexico State has been on the downside as of late, but there's no excuse for you to be taking anybody lightly walking into the stadium.
100%. I mean, I can guarantee you that there's been conversations in that New Mexico State locker room this week between the players and Coach Kill. This is Jerry Kill's Super Bowl.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There's no question.
They're getting paid regardless of whether they win or lose this game, just for facing a smaller school. But Jerry Kill would love nothing better than to leave this stadium tonight with a victory. Like you said, I mean, this is a game for the Gophers where control what you can control.
Yeah.
You dominate the line of scrimmage. You don't take any chances. You let your players win their matchups, and you just win the game, move on. I know Justin Gard has made the point earlier this week. Just get the win and move on.
Yeah. Ron, have you been in a situation like that, too, where you have a game like this, where there's that additional storyline here that you're very well aware of? How does that affect a player? Is that in your mind if you're a New Mexico State player? We really want to sell out to get a win tonight for our head coach.
Yeah, I think, like Glenn Mason being an Ohio State guy, when we went to Ohio State, we knew how much it meant for him. That was our first time being a good team. My freshman year, we went there, but they were loaded my freshman year. They had Antoine Winfield, senior. They had Nayal Diggs. They had Andy Katzenmoyer. Like, we really didn't have a shot that year. But then the third year we went, we were like, man, they're number 6 in the country, I think, or something like that. We were like 19th or 20th in the country, so it was a pretty even, not even, but a good matchup. And Glenn Mason talked about all the Ohio State stories, being a former player, being a former coach. And so we knew it meant a little bit more to him to be back home and actually have control of this team after the year before, beating Penn State at Penn State. We had learned that. So for this New Mexico State team, the problem is they don't have any games to build on to say, hey, we've been here before against a giant. We've slayed a Goliath. So they have to figure out for Coach Kill, and Coach Kill, I think even too, his offensive coordinator is like, hey, dial up whatever plays you have to dial up to make them special. For the defense, hey, if we're going to lose, let's lose emptying our gun. Let's shoot every possible bullet.
Sure.
I mean, for the 100%. Call of Duty guys, it's like when right before you die,
here.
The last stand. You just go out, guns a blazing.
I'm well aware.
You're gonna die. I'm taking you with me. I'm pulling a grenade. Whatever I got to do. And so I think that's what Jerry Kill has to think tonight. Take the kitchen sink. Whatever you got to do. Fumbarooski, hide a guy, put it underneath the center's legs. I mean, whatever you got to do, he's got to have some fun with this game tonight.
Any chance we get a Call of Duty reference on this show, we will take advantage of that. Maybe we'll come back to that a little bit later in the show. But
did I use it right? Because I'm not a Call of Duty guy.
No, absolutely. You use it perfectly. I don't believe that you're not because you use it so well. I think you've been inside the war zone once or twice before, Ron, and I just don't think you want to tell us about it. Anyway, moving on to another portion of this team. We've talked about the guys that are coming back, the Mo Ibrahim's, the Chris Autman-Bells. One item of, I don't know if concern is the right word, but unknown really is the Gopher offensive line. There's been a lot of turnover in that area of the field for Minnesota. Concerning for you, Jeff? I mean, when it comes to running the football, this team wants to run the football. What are you expecting to see perhaps from tonight from this offensive line?
I would say more intrigued than concerned,
okay,
just because they know the standard.
That's a better word.
These are guys that got a lot of run 2 years ago when there was a bunch of guys out with COVID-19 when they had that shortened season. You've got guys like Ariante Ursary, Axel Rushmeyer. You've got the one guy back is the one guy you want to have back in John Michael Smith, who's up for every preseason award you can think of. You've got Martez Lewis, who's going to be the start, probably going to be the starter at right tackle. We don't know that for sure yet. And you've also got Michigan transfer Chuck Filiaga. You got two guys there between Schmitz and Filiaga who have both started more than 40 games for their career. That's huge.
Yeah.
And you've also got Quinn Carroll, the Edina standout, who went to Notre Dame, and he's back. And you've got J.J. Gaudet, who had some off-season surgery, just starting to get into his own during the middle of fall camp. They're going to rotate into that right tackle spot, but you do have to find those 5 guys that can carry you and then have that depth in case somebody goes down.
It's cliche, but it's true. If you can't win the battle in the trenches, you're not going to win many football games. So it's kind of, I don't want to say it's up to this offensive line, but I think a lot of the way this team is going to go is going to be dictated by how this line plays this season.
Oh, no, 100% it's up to this line. Like, if they are not good, the Gophers will not be good, period.
I agree.
This is a perfect tune-up game. I hate to call it that, but the good thing for them is they're not jumping out like Northwestern and Nebraska playing a Big Ten opponent. They're not jumping out like West Virginia, playing in the whatever they call it, the showdown or the shootout or whatever it's called. You're not having to do all that. So you're able to play against a team. I don't want to overlook New Mexico State, but you can really, like Jeff said, you can rotate your offensive line today and see who's our best 5. What 5 go together? But the Quinn Carroll, the Filiaga, all these, the Martez, these guys all have played.
Right.
And so that's the other cool thing about it. You're not dealing with a lot of freshmen.
Well, we've been alluding to this all broadcast long. We're going to go back out to Amy Hockert, who has been in the tailgate area the entire time. She has mentioned that there's going to be a bit of a surprise here on the broadcast. Amy, this is going to be a very special moment. What do you have for us? Oh my! Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Forget football. Love conquers all.
I can't even.
Oh, and there we have it.
They took a shot.
Amazing.
Amy Hockert, if you can hear me, tell who are these people? What do we have here?
How I Met Your Mother.
We're getting there. We're getting there. All right, you guys. No. Look at
Yes.
Congratulations,
Yes.
first of all.
Thank you.
Hey, you got to tell me about all of this.
So, it's been about 9 years coming. We both went to the U of M together, came here, thought it'd be the right place to get it done, and happy to spend the rest of our lives together.
Well, first, okay, I'm so sorry. I'm so rude. What are your names?
My name's John. This is Kelly.
John and Kelly. You guys just had an amazing moment right here. How are you feeling, Kelly?
Oh, really good. Real good. Real good.
Did you know this was going to happen?
Yeah.
You did? Did mom couldn't
Why would my friend fly from out of state to get me a manicure? My mom, who hates football, show up to a game. And John, who can't.
You're watching the Gopher Pregame Show.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Fox 9 Gopher Pregame Show here on our YouTube stream. Pierre Nugent, Ron Johnson, Fox9.com's Jeff Wald with us. Time to get to our players to watch, guys, not just for this game, but for the entire season. There are so many pieces on this team. Ron, I'm going to start with you, your player to watch for 2022.
I'm going to go with extra crispy salt and vinegar wings. That's my player to watch.
That's what we're trying to do. We've been trying to get wings over.
Somebody give me some wings.
Yeah, we've been trying to get wings over here at this thing for the last half hour.
He's hangry. I am hangry. No, so Chris Autman-Bell is my guy to watch. Chris Autman-Bell, 500 yards last season, 36 catches, 6 touchdowns. I was able to be the sideline reporter for the Indiana game. Probably one of the best experiences I've had because why? Chris Autman-Bell was the player of the game. In the game, I got the call from the sideline, and I got to do the post-game interview with him. Who I don't want to do a post-game interview with a defensive guy or somebody else. I got a receiver, so it was just like it lined up. The stars aligned. It was perfect. We were in Indiana, right by Kentucky, so we got the best whiskey we've ever had. I mean, but Chris Autman-Bell is my guy though. So he has, like PJ said it from freshman year, violent hands, attacks the ball, not afraid to go in traffic. So I'm excited to see what he does tonight.
Jeff?
I'm going with a fifth-year guy, linebacker, heart of the defense, Mariano Sori-Marin. You're talking about a guy who is the epitome of the row-the-boat culture that P.J. Fleck has instilled here. His first 2 years, he struggled with his lane assignments, with his gap control. He missed some tackles. Last year, he really stood out with the help of Jack Gibbons, the Abilene Christian transfer. Gibbons led the team in tackles, but he was kind of the security blanket for Mariano. He could focus on his assignments, make his plays, and you saw him finish the season second on the defense in tackles. And now you're starting to see more of the personality come out. This year, he's featured on a lot of their social media stuff. You got Meals with Mariano. He's a talker in interviews. I mean, he loves the spotlight. So if it translates out on that field tonight, you'll know why.
Yeah, and we've certainly had a chance to talk to Mariano Sori-Marin over the years. Great young man. Also, my player to watch, sorry to be Captain Obvious about it, but I'm sorry, my player to watch is the quarterback. It's Tanner Morgan. Over the past couple of years, if you talk to Tanner Morgan about his level of play, I'm sure he would be the first to tell you it has not been up to the standard that he expects. Back in 2019, when Kirk Ciarrocca was here as the offensive coordinator, he had his best statistical season throwing 30 touchdown passes. And like we kind of talked about earlier in the pregame show, guys, we know this team wants to be a run-the-football type of team, ground and pound kind of team. That's where their bread and butter is. However, they're going to need great quarterback play to separate themselves from a potential 8-win team to a potential 10, maybe even an 11-win team if things all break right for the Gophers. But they're not going to get up to a double-digit win team, in my opinion, unless they get great quarterback play. Not average quarterback play, not good quarterback play. We need great quarterback play from Tanner Morgan. I'm sure he's probably thinking about that as well.
He'd be the first guy to tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at 2019 Tanner Morgan, 30 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and then the last 2 years under Mike Sanford, he definitely took a step back. I think he had 17 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. There is it as simple as a coaching change. We will find out here in the first few games.
And Ron alluded to it earlier. Yeah, there's a lot of talent on that team in 2019. That certainly plays a role as well.
Yeah, was it the chicken or the egg? Was it the two NFL caliber receivers, or was it Kirk Ciarrocca and Tanner Morgan and just really being able to talk to him? If you think about a coach in the quarterback's head, we said this. Mike Zimmer, going to the Vikings, not to beat a dead horse, was not great for Kirk Cousins' mental. I think Kirk Cousins now having Kevin O'Connell, his mental is back to, or it will be where it should be. Fast forward, you got Tanner Morgan now getting Kirk Ciarrocca back. I think he mentally will be where he should be tonight.
Only 10 touchdown passes last year, 9 interceptions for Tanner Morgan. Again, you know, this offense, we know what it can do.
Jay Cutler type number.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Wow, there you have it. we did. Yes. I'm not even gonna comment on that. We're gonna go back out to Amy Hawkard, who's out in the tailgate section with another surprise for us. Amy, what do you have for us?
Listen, if you're not feeling the love out here in the Sky-U Mall lot, there's something wrong with you, because people here are just full of love and joy. We just had this wedding proposal, and then as we're doing that live shot, somebody came running up to me and they said, "Hey," and it was my brother. So Brother Dan is here. You got to explain what's going on here, Brother Dan.
Yeah, so it's our anniversary, and I'm clearly not dressed the part right now. She is. But we love tailgating. We love the Gophers. We love the whole vibe, the atmosphere. So we thought we'd come out, say, what's going on with you, and just hang out in the whole atmosphere for a little while.
And Mimi.
I mean, this is an annual thing, so I think I'm going to retire. This is year 9, but, we just thought we would, get the most out of our money and our outfits. So I wear it every year.
I love it. Out here tailgating. Exactly. But your outfit is where?
It's in the car.
We only have 15 more minutes in the show, so we had to do what we had to do to get them here. But we just thought we'd bring this in because we've got this theme going of just bliss and love and Gophers. We love it. Love you guys. Go Gophers!
I love you.
All right, guys. See ya. Back to you.
Amy, thank you so much. A yeoman's work out there in the tailgate section. I gotta hand it to Amy's sister-in-law there. You buy the wedding dress, you only wear it once. I mean, you might as well get your money's worth. Why not wear it on your anniversary? It's not a bad strategy.
It's not a bad strategy, but if they can't fit anymore, then that's not something some people can continuously do. She definitely
Looked like it fit just fine over
She
here.
can keep doing it for a while. But I thought we were going to have a Blue Jays baseball game moment where they were going to get kicked out of the tailgate for too much love. But definitely a different surprise. His wedding anniversary a lot better than the Blue Jays game.
To use a cliched football reference, if you want to talk about outkicking your coverage, there it was right there.
He's a good-looking guy, though.
All right,
Amy's family has great genes.
I'm gonna bring this. I'm gonna try to get control of the show here. I know we're on YouTube and everything like that, but I'm gonna try to get control of this game. Let's actually talk a little football, and let's get to our keys of the game, guys. Jeff, I'm gonna start with you. Your keys to victory for tonight against New Mexico State.
Well, you hinted at it earlier in the show with Bowling Green, but simply just get off to a fast start.
Yep.
Let's make the pregame and postgame interactions between PJ Fleck and Jerry Kill the most intriguing part of this night. This game needs to be 35-42 to nothing at half. I want to see second and third stringers playing in the second half because this game is so far out of reach that there's no chance for New Mexico State to have a chance tonight. Just get the job done. Don't leave anything to chance. As I said last year, take care of business. This program has a tendency under PJ Fleck to make non-conference games more interesting than they need to be. We know that they beat Colorado 30-0 last year. That was obviously a pretty. They took care of that one, but in 2019 they barely won their 3 non-conference games. Obviously that led to bigger things down the road. But please, for the love of God, just get the job done tonight without any damage.
Ron.
Yeah, I'm going to say first and second down efficiency. On defense, they need to force Jerry's team to be in third and long. And then on offense, you always want to be in 3rd and 4 or less. The reason is because the playbook is wide open. You can still run the ball. You can still run toss sweep. The defense can't just come out nickel. They're going to have to see what personnel you have out there. If you put a personnel out there that's favorable and all of a sudden Span Forward has a undersized guy covering them, you could pop out and throw him a little fade route. So there's a lot. You can still run slants. You can run hitches. So you have your entire playbook versus 3rd and 11 and 3rd and 15. You're probably running a draw. And then you're going to get the boo birds. And so we don't want to have any of that. But first and second down efficiency, especially for Tanner Morgan, is going to be key tonight.
My key tonight to victory is do what Nevada was able to do last week against New Mexico State, and that's force turnovers. This Minnesota defense should have the ability to kind of overwhelm this New Mexico State offense, have them turn the ball over early and often, and you're going to find yourself in the driver's seat. And to Jeff's point, like he said, that potentially could get you set up for a second-half cruise, and that's exactly where you want to be, especially in your non-conference opener at home against a team like New Mexico State, a team many of us are expecting Minnesota to beat. I know I easily could have made my key to the game was for Minnesota to cover. Don't have anything on the game here tonight, though. I'm just going to let it play out. Like Jeff said, I think 36.5. Is that where we are, or are we down to 34.5?
It was 36.5 as of this morning, and if I'm a betting man, which we'll leave that to another conversation.
I am.
I'd be a bold guy, and I would take Gophers.
You would take the Gophers to cover 36.5.
If it was against anybody else, I wouldn't. But with Jerry Kill in town, with that little beef, and between Fleck and Kill, and between Kill and the University, PJ's going to take every opportunity he can to score points tonight.
I think I tend to agree. Let's look at the broader scope here, guys, of the Big Ten, especially the Big Ten West. I mean, this has been a dogfight year in and year out. Wisconsin traditionally has been the team to beat in this division. Iowa, however, is always a contender. Iowa won it last year. How do you see the Big Ten West kind of playing out this year?
It's going to come down to the three-headed monster: Wisconsin, Iowa, and Minnesota. I think that's going to be the three. Hey, Peterson!
Oh, Jim.
Jim Pete.
Jim,
come here.
There it is.
Come here.
There he is. No. Is he coming?
Wisconsin, Iowa. We got a Big Ten Gopher.
Okay, go do your thing.
We're going to get you on TV.
Jim Peterson, ladies and gentlemen, is who we're talking to. No, you go do your thing.
Go recruit for Ben Johnson.
You go do your thing.
Don't do that. But yeah, no, it's going to be a three-headed monster. Wisconsin, Iowa, I think Minnesota. I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, and I don't want to, get it wrong. But those three, I think the last 3 years has been those three. It's going to be those three again. It's going to come down. This is a perfect season. It comes down both of those games at the end of the year. So the Gophers will have a chance with their own fate if they do what they're supposed to do early. You can lose to Michigan State and still beat those two and end up in the Big Ten West Championship. So Michigan State's on the East, so it doesn't affect them as much in their head-to-heads. Just beat the teams in the West and then beat Wisconsin, Iowa, or one of them, I think, it will get you in it.
I'd like to get greedy and beat both. I mean, we've had some some luck against Wisconsin, or not luck. We've had some fortune against Wisconsin 2 out of the last 4 years. The big dark hanging cloud over this program right now, PJ Fleck is 0-5 against Iowa.
Yep.
Last year was a complete offensive debacle in that I believe it was a 27-22 loss to the Hawkeyes. Everything is in front of them. There's no reason they can't win the Big Ten West this year if they can execute at the level that they expect of themselves. Like we said, it's a three-headed monster between Wisconsin and Iowa and Minnesota in our minds, especially after seeing Nebraska lose to Northwestern. Woof, that was something.
That was something, absolutely. And I think Scott Frost is going to be
Home Alone.
Yeah,
Buzz's girlfriend. Woof.
I think there's going to be a little bit of an issue with Scott Frost going forward. It might be a problem for him moving forward if he doesn't get this program turned around. Let's look ahead to some of the key matchups coming up this weekend in the Big Ten. Let's start with Michigan State taking on Western Michigan. What a season Michigan State had last year. What a turnaround. Mel Tucker with the job that he's done with the Spartans. They lose Kenneth Walker, but this Michigan State team really, boy, did they look good last year. Do we see a repeat in Michigan State this season?
Yeah, I think, when you talk about culture, I think Mel Tucker is trying to get back to that old school Michigan State, punch you in the mouth type games. You look at how he played a lot of those games, running the ball, getting back to the TJ Duckett days. That's who Michigan State, that's when they were really good, when they were able to run the ball down people's throat. That's what he's trying to get back to, similar to what the Big Ten was a bruising. Ron Dane, you look at all those guys, Jonathan Taylor, they're trying to get back to that in Michigan State because for a while, let's be honest, they became kind of cute. It was a passing type of team. It was a cute, sexy little team, and they weren't bruisers. Now they're kind of getting back to who they are, getting back to their roots. They did have a great recruiting class out of Detroit, so he's going against Harbaugh in Detroit. He was able to get Antonio Gates Jr. to come to Michigan State. He was able to get another kid who's going to play a lot this year from Bloomfield Hills. So he's gotten a lot of guys from Harbaugh, and I think that's the other key. You got to win your state in recruiting because Minnesota doesn't have that. So we just got to stop these kids from going to Iowa, Wisconsin. He's got to stop a guy right down the road.
Spartans have won 12 straight against Western Michigan. Minnesota will be taking on Michigan State on September 24th. We talked about Iowa, again, the champions of the Big Ten West last season. They bring back linebacker Jack Campbell, who's named the Big Ten's preseason Defensive Player of the Year. Iowa is a team, Jeff, you mentioned it, this has been the bugaboo for PJ Fleck since he's been here. How do you look at the Hawkeyes moving into 2022?
Well, there's a reason why Kirk Ferentz has been there forever. I mean, the guy wins. I mean,
he does.
It's what he does. And last year, I think if they didn't lead the nation in turnovers, they were one of the top programs in the country with getting turnovers. They had ball hawks on defense, a ton of interceptions. So like PJ Fleck says, the ball is the program. If you can protect the football, you've got a chance. Because I thought the Gophers matched up pretty well with them last year. It was just a matter of executing some plays that got in the way of that game last year. But, Iowa's always going to be a physical team in the trenches like every other team in the Big Ten is going to be. It's a matter of protecting the football.
And what about Wisconsin? The Wisconsin, it comes into the season ranked. They're ranked 18th overall in the AP Top 25, the only team that's currently ranked in the AP Top 25 in the Big Ten West. Finished 9-4 last season. I don't know if you'd want to consider it, a down season, but I'm sure they consider it a down season according to their standards. They had a couple of losses in the early part of the season, but they finished the season winning 7 in a row. How do we view this Wisconsin team? Are they the team to beat in the West?
I think it's still them in Iowa. It's going to come down to that. Wisconsin is going to be good again. Iowa's going to be good, but they always are. They're always kind of right around each other. I think that the biggest thing for Graham Mertz is the turnovers. He was good early on, and then he started to have the turnovers, and it became like a snowball effect in certain games, and that's why we were laughing at certain games when we were like, oh, they lost to this team. So that's what Wisconsin gives you, though. I mean, you look at the running back. He's a giant. He's a big, he's young, but he's a big kid. PJ brought that up last year, that this kid is built like a grown man already, and so he's only gotten bigger, stronger, and faster. So I think it's going to be less of Graham Mertz, more of running the ball to games and then play action behind it. And then Wisconsin's defense with Jim Leonard is just sound. They play sound Baltimore Ravens type of defense, keep everybody in front of you, hit them in the mouth, and then he's going to do some tricks here and there to get some pressure on the quarterback. But I hate them, but I gotta tip my hat to them. They're a good team.
Dynamic duo at running back, really, with Ches Malusi and Braylon Allen. I mean, it's a really dynamic 1-2 punch. I mean, that's kind of running back you up there in Wisconsin. Let's talk about before we talk about the next thing. Minnesota is going to be taking on Wisconsin. That is the regular season finale. That is what is going to be happening at the end of the regular season. Let's do one more before we go. The big one, guys. Ohio State and Notre Dame. Number 2 versus number 5. I mean, does it get any better than this to open the week in college football?
C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
C.J. Stroud is going to be the difference maker in that game. He's got a lot of NIL money. He just gave everybody on his team $500 to go to Express and buy a suit. So the kid is out there like a NFL quarterback already, but he is a really good quarterback. That offense is really good. Their receivers, I mean, they lost receivers, and they're still got great receivers behind them. So it's going to come down to that. Notre Dame, I think, with their new change of culture, they're going to try to build back to get to the old Golden Domer days. They have James Laurinaitis is back helping out as well. So they're trying to get back to who they used to be, but I got to give that to Ohio State.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State, like they always have, relies on athletes and playmakers. I mean, they make big plays on both sides of the ball. That's what they've always done, like Ron attested to. I'm really curious to see how this program in Notre Dame buys into the new coach. Obviously, he came in and did his thing right away, and it sure looks good, but until you get out on that field, you don't know what you're going to see.
All right, as we traditionally do here on the Gopher pregame show, it is time now for Ron Johnson's matchup meter. New Mexico State taking on Minnesota here tonight. And Ron, let's get right to it. How do you see these things playing out? Who's got the edge on the particular sides of the ball?
Yeah, this might be the easiest one ever done. They can just roll it all the way through. It's Minnesota all the way. Minnesota's offense is better. You look at New Mexico State, 12 points. Last year, yards as well, they're terrible. Defense, it's got to go to Minnesota. They have better athletes, better players. These are a bunch of transfers that they're trying to put together, and it's hard to gel early on. That's why you have the mistakes. And then you go to coaching. I mean, now, it's not an easy one, but P.J. Fleck, I think, has a better culture, even though Jerry doesn't want to admit it.
Okay.
He said he loves watching P.J. He roots for the Gophers. He enjoys, he said, I don't like watching him run up and down the sideline, but I do like watching the game. So nobody likes watching P.J. run up and down the sideline. As far as haters, that's normally what haters say. Meat sauce is one of them. So when you think about that, and then as far as X Factor, I will give them a bone. X Factor I'll give to New Mexico State because they can play free and easy. It's like when you walk into a casino and they hand you $5,000 and say, just go have fun.
Yes, please.
Because it's not your money. So they're here playing with house money right now because they have nothing better to do. You know what happens when you walk into Vegas and you've been down there for a long time. Here's a chip. Here, take $1,000 and go lose it and then stay in our hotel for free. But, that's the big thing about it when you think about Jerry Kill walking in. He has no pressure. If he loses this game, it was what it was.
Sure.
So he can do whatever. So they're playing loose. If it gets close, that's when that sphincter gets tight because they're like, oh, crap, here comes Bowling Green again, and all the fans are sitting on their hands, and, everybody's looking for the oxygen, and they're trying to get back to their red Solo cup. So this is a game that I give the X Factor to New Mexico State, no pressure.
Quickly, guys, before we wrap things up here on the Gopher pregame show, it is the first game of the season. I know we as fans, we love doing this every year. We look at the schedule, we say win, 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 loss, win, loss. How do you see this season playing out? Jeff, I'll start with you.
Well, first of all, you got to sweep the non-conference. There's just no way around it. I mean,
sure.
Especially when you look at Week 4, first Big Ten game going to East Lansing. That's your first. I mean, a coach will never say it, but that's your first real test. Going to Michigan State, that first Big Ten game, you've got to win your home games. 7 home games this year, you got to win them all, and then you got to steal one of Michigan State and Penn State. We go to the whiteout game at Happy Valley.
So what's their record at the end of the year?
I'm going 10-2.
Ron?
Ooh. I'm saying, I think 10-2.
10-2.
10-2.
I think just a matter if we have the same 10 or not.
I think mine was I had them possibly losing to Michigan State, and then either I or Wisconsin, they're going to split with them.
I think I'm going to go 9-3 is what I'm going to go. I think this will be a very solid team. I don't know if they've got everything they're going to need in order to get past Wisconsin at the end of the year. But like Jeff mentioned a moment ago, it's not luck. They've actually worked very hard and defeated Wisconsin 2 of the last 4 years. There's no way Wisconsin should be looking at Minnesota on paper and thinking to themselves, this is an automatic win like they did perhaps a decade ago, perhaps even 5 years ago. So that just speaks to the progress that PJ Fleck has made with this program, and we are looking forward to seeing it all unfold as the 2022 season gets kicking off here in just over an hour from now. Kickoff is at 8 o'clock between the Gophers and the Aggies. For Fox9.com's Jeff Wald, former Gopher wide receiver Ron Johnson, I'm Pierre Nugent. A very special thank you to all of our crew helping us set up here outside of Huntington Bank Stadium. Get ready, everybody. It's time for some football. Gophers and Aggies at 8 o'clock. We will see you tomorrow for a recap of Minnesota's season opener.